As a psychology enthusiast, my literary journey often leads me down the fascinating corridors of how the human mind works. And recently I delved into this book, and this is Antonio Damasio's Self Comes to Mind, Constructing a Conscious Brain. And it really explains, it has a nuanced exploration of wakefulness, self awareness, reflection, rationality, and an intricate dance between phenomenal consciousness and self consciousness. And I'll explain what these are. And it is a bit complicated, so please do bear with me as I'm explaining. So, Damasio's exploration begins with a profound emphasis on the idea of wakefulness and self awareness, which are crucial components in constructing the conscious mind. The intricate tapestry of our consciousness, according to Damasio, involves not only an awareness of oneself, but also a knowledge of one's existence and the surroundings. So it's a sort of interplay between the mental processes that give rise to our subjective experiences, our existence. And that's where the concept of phenomenal consciousness, which I mentioned earlier, comes into play. So this is a cornerstone of Damasio's contribution, and it's phenomenal consciousness, which you can see at the very top. It's sort of an essence that distinguishes, let's say, the experience of the color blue from the taste of chocolate. I know this sounds very philosophical, but bear with me. So he argues that phenomenal consciousness emerges from the simultaneous processing of associations in different brain areas, and is sort of a like a symphony of neural activity that creates this like, tapestry of our conscious experience. So, central to Damasio's thesis is the idea that phenomenal consciousness is intricately linked to self-consciousness. So, he points that self-consciousness results from the procession of neural maps representing our inner and outer worlds. But this controversial claim challenges traditional views, suggesting that our awareness of the self is a prerequisite for the richness of our conscious experience, if that makes sense. A few years ago, a patient was in a persistent vegetative state, and he was studied by the neuroscientists Adrian Owen and Stephen Lorries, and this can sort of explain this concept to you. So, on some trials, these researchers instructed the patient to imagine standing still on a tennis court, swinging at a ball, and on others to visualize walking from room to room in their home. So it was found that the patients showed the same imaginistic brain activations as normal conscious people would, who were used as control subjects. So it sort of underscores the complexity of consciousness and challenges preconceived notions of self-awareness in unconscious states. Now, you might have to watch over that explanation one more time just to make it make sense, because I had to read over this section a couple of times to understand this, but it is interesting. Now, another factor that Damasio delves into is the idea of dreams, which he describes as paradoxical. He argues that dreams lack the guidance of a regular, functioning self, posing a sort of challenge to conventional models of phenomenal consciousness, grounded in self-awareness, rationality, and wakefulness. So, on another note, there was an Israeli neuroscientist called Rafi Malek, who presented subjects with pictures and asked them to judge their own emotional reactions as positive, negative, or neutral. So, this was a self-oriented, introspective task. He presented different subjects with the same pictures as, let's say, for example, animals, or not. Of course, these subjects were seeing the pictures consciously, but Malek found that the brain circuits involved in scrutinizing self-reactions were, as in deciding if their own reaction was positive or negative, were inhibited in the fast categorization task. And subjects also rated their self-awareness as high in the emotional reaction task and low in the fast categorization task. So I might not have mentioned it earlier, but there were two tasks. One where they rate their emotional awareness, and one where they have to quickly categorize it. So they were more self-aware when doing the emotional reaction compared to the quick categorization task. So as Malek puts it, these results comport with, let me see the quote, the strong intuitive sense we have of losing ourselves in a highly engaging sensory motor act. Now, Malik's experiments reveal that engaging sensory motor tasks inhibit the brain circuits association with self-reflection. In summary, I'll repeat that one more time. His experiments reveal that engaging in sensory motor tasks inhibit the brain circuits associated with self-reflection. Now, Damasio's explanation for consciousness extends beyond complex organisms, and he contends that even unicellular or single-celled organisms possess a minimal sense of self. And this idea once again challenges the conventional notion that consciousness is exclusive to higher-order beings, and suggests that self-preservation, self-consciousness is a really fundamental aspect of life, regardless of how many cells you have. Now, the whole narrative that Damasio provides revolves around two pivotal questions. The questions are written here. How does the brain give rise to the mind? And how does that brain render that mind conscious? The self in this framework emerges as a critical player in the genesis of consciousness, a process that acts as both the subject of knowledge and the knower, reflecting on experiences. Now, at the very heart, at the core of Damasio's theory, lies the concept of the proto-self. Yeah, I've got it here in this daunting sort of font. And this is a foundational mapping of the body, and a loop that transmits feelings between the brain and various body parts, as shown here. Here, the entire body, not just the brain, contributes to the creation of the mind. So the mind isn't just the brain, it's sort of the whole body contributing to this. And this is sort of an intricate dance between the conscious mind. So this intricate dance sort of arises from the conscious mind, and how the life regulating functions of the brain interact with it, with the self as a conductor, sort of like a conductor leading an orchestra of our cognitive experiences. So it's a bit of a puzzle putting together. I'll say that one more time. So the conscious mind arises from the life regulating function of the brain, with the self as a conductor leading our cognitive experiences. So our self leads our cognitive experiences, which is related to the conscious mind. Now, it is very complicated, and very there's lots of different aspects you have to consider here. And to be very honest, I haven't fully wrapped my head around this concept yet, but I will continuously research this, do more reading on this, and really try to wrap my head around this entire sort of this framework Damasio has proposed. But I do hope you found it somewhat interesting, somewhat thought-provoking, and do let me know if you have any questions. I will do my best to clarify them. But for more interesting key takeaways and findings, do like and subscribe below, and I will see you soon.